Good evening, I'm Lidia Curanaj, and welcome to a special edition of The Count. We'll spend the next 2 hours honoring the life and legacy of conservative icon, Turning Point founder Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated at the young age of 31 while answering questions during an event at Utah Valley University on Wednesday afternoon. On Friday, authorities announced that they arrested a suspect in his assassination. Here's Utah's Governor Spencer Cox.
We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate.
22-year-old Tyler Robinson was then detained by U.S. Marshals just a couple of hours after authorities had released video of the suspect jumping off the roof where the fatal shot that struck Kirk came from, along with still photos of the suspect walking around the campus before the shooting. Investigators say Robinson even confessed to his father that he was the shooter after his father recognized him from the pictures released by police, and he confronted him. And this just in, President Trump, as well as FBI Director Kash Patel, telling Newsmax's Rob Schmidt that the alleged shooter was living with and was romantically involved with a man transitioning into a woman. That person is now thankfully cooperating with the FBI. Joining us now, former Turning Point USA head of security and retired FBI supervisory special agent Greg Shaffer, and joining us as well, former Secret Service agent Rich Starpoli. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I guess let's start off with you, Chris. Your reaction to hearing that his partner was a trans person. Rich, oh, I'm sorry, I have this wrong. Rich, sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me one bit. Of course he was. Listen, the woke liberal left democratic machinery for years now has been espousing everything anti-American, pro-criminal, right, pro-transgender community. These people have obvious mental conditions, and it doesn't take much for somebody that's affiliated with them to get pushed over the edge and go out and do something like this. This has been building up for years. The last guest on your previous show, Graham Allen, is a much better man than I, where he said we should Charlie would love to, forgive and forget. God forgives. I don't. I'd like to see this guy removed to federal court and executed as quickly as possible.
Greg, what do you think? I mean, is this, we're trying to kind of figure out what the motive behind all of this could have been. His family says that he became hardcore leftist ideology. We know that he had one semester in school, but by all accounts, he had a stable, normal upbringing. He even received a presidential scholarship. He only, though, had one semester. Where did it go so wrong for this guy?
Well, that's where the FBI's behavioral analysis unit, the BAU, the profilers, that's where they're going to have a field day with this individual. He came from a well-adjusted, middle-income family. His parents are still married, grew up in a household with brothers and sisters that seemed to care for each other deeply. He had good grades. There was no, history of alcohol or drug abuse. Other than the news that came out today that he was dating a transgender, he seemed to live a very normal, middle class, wonderful life with two loving parents and siblings. So again, the profilers are going to have a really interesting time delving into his head and finding out what the motive is and what caused all this hate and discontent for him to pull off such a heinous crime.
Rich, Vice President J.D. Vance posting on X, I am grateful to Governor Spencer Cox, Utah law enforcement, Kash Patel, and the FBI for giving this case the time, resources, and hard work it deserved. This is a big breakthrough, and everyone who helped, from the law enforcement professionals to the people giving tips, deserve our credit and gratitude. Say a prayer for Erica Kirk and those two beautiful babies and more. Thankfully, the father of this alleged shooter, thank God that he's the one that told apparently a family friend who happened to be a minister, and then they turned this person in. What do you think about the work that the family did, and that the fact that they did the right thing?
Well, I think it's fantastic. I spent 2 years with the U.S. Marshal Service tracking fugitives and going on these international manhunts. And I cannot overstate the importance of using the general public to get all your leads and develop any investigative leads that will help to identify and ultimately capture someone. More often than not, the reliance on the family is critical, right? Because somebody in that family, some close family member, some family associate knows where this guy is, knows who he is, knows who he's hanging around with, and can provide that small sliver of information that fits into the much larger piece of the jigsaw puzzle that will ultimately, and in this case, ultimately did manage to help the FBI effect the capture of the shooter.
Greg, right now, authorities say that they don't anticipate any other arrests. We are also learning that his partner, roommate, this trans person, is cooperating with police. Do you think that maybe more people should be held responsible if they possibly knew that he was going to carry out such a heinous crime?
Oh, absolutely. If he had co-conspirators or people knew of his intent, then they should be held accountable. In most of these cases, there is what we call third-party linkage, where the shooter, does communicate to someone via social media or verbally, that they communicate to someone about the heinous act they're about to commit before they commit it. So, the FBI is going to continue this investigation along with local and state authorities, and I'm sure they're delving into emails and social media and written correspondences between the shooter and anybody else he may have been in contact with, telephone calls, to see if they can identify anyone who had prior knowledge of this heinous attack.
Rich, you're seeing a lot of hate online, after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the vileness of some people. A lot of them are educators. Some of them are judges. Some of them are doctors that are applauding the assassination of this young father of two small children, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. What do you think should happen to those people?
Look, they need to be immediately removed from their positions. When you occupy some of these white-collar positions, in particular, you're a member of the judiciary, you're a member of the legislature. Well, look what happened, just this previous week. We had a current Secret Service agent who went online and actually applauded the shooting of Charlie Kirk. He was immediately fired. When you occupy one of these positions, you need to be held to a higher standard. You should not be on social media espousing your values and beliefs, no matter what they are, certainly applauding somebody getting murdered on live TV where his whole family could watch the events unfold. It's unacceptable.
Greg, you were the former Turning Point USA head of security. A lot of questions remain as to could it have been more secure to prevent something like this? What are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, 2020 hindsight's crystal clear that they should have done something. But you have to remember that the private security firm that was hired by Charlie Kirk for this event, they have one goal in mind, and that's to protect Charlie. The security of the campus and the security of that rooftop was actually the responsibility of the police. And you got to look at, again, the full picture. When you devise these and write these security plans, you have to look at what the threat is and what the risks are, and you devise your plan based on those threats and risks. Well, at a college campus where the average age is 18 to 22 or 23 years old, you're not expecting a sniper to take a shot from 200 yards away. What you are expecting is somebody jumping the barricades and getting on stage and trying to attack Charlie that way, or somebody throwing a bottle of water or pig's blood on him, or worst case scenario, drawing a handgun or a knife in the front row. That's what you plan your security plan on, because that's the most probable method of attack. You're not thinking 200-yard sniper shots. It's just not something that you generally would think about. But again, this is definitely something that will make the paradigm change, where even for small crowds, you got to control that 200-yard range where sniper shots can be very fatal and very effective from that close.
Right, the local police, you wonder how could they not have done a sweep? He had a clear shot, a sniper's nest, people are calling it. But again, like you said, hindsight is 2020. Greg Shaffer, Rich Sarpoli, thank you both.
Thank you.